Okay, now that we've opened up all of our images in Photoshop and we've had a little bit of a tour of the interface, we're ready to start cropping these, create a new document, and put them all together. So I'm going to go over to the crop tool, and I'm going to put some settings into the options bar to set this to my desired outcome size. So I had mentioned I wanted all of your images to be 200 pixels by 200 pixels with a resolution of 72. What is my image currently? If I go up to image, image size, I can see that this is an image that's 14 inches by 9.4 inches at a resolution of 300. It's a large image. If I want to see what that is in pixels, I can switch this to pixels, and I see that's 4,288 pixels by 2,848 pixels. It has a lot of pixels, and I only want 200 by 200 pixels. So another thing just to point out is because this has so many pixels, this is so large, Photoshop automatically resizes it down or scales it down so I can see the whole image. I'm actually only viewing this at 16.7%. If I click on this image over here, let's see, yeah, I guess I'm viewing them all at the same size. No, this one I'm viewing at 25%. So it's something to make note of when you first open up your image. You may think that's the perfect size that I want it to be, but check to see if you're actually viewing it at 100% or not. So going back to my first image, I have my crop tool selected, and I'm going to go up here to the options bar, and I'm going to choose the width, height, resolution option. So there are a couple of different options here for presets I could put in, and that's the one I'm going to choose. And then type in 200 px for pixels. This is my width by my height, 200 px, and 72 is what I want for my resolution. And it gives me a preliminary crop, and I could take this and click it and drag it around to get the section of the image that I want. So remember, we're thinking about how does line activate the space around it? Does it make it passive? Does it cut it? Does it join it? So, think about, is it more interesting if I have the line starting all the way down at the bottom, like this, or is it more interesting if it's space at the bottom and then I have the line going up here? So when you've found kind of the section that you want, and again you can click and you can move this around if you want it to be smaller or larger, you're going to go up here to the options bar and make sure delete cropped pixels is not selected, because we actually don't want to get rid of any of this, so we could keep the option to move it if we don't like our crop. We're going to make sure that's not selected, and then we want to commit to our crop. So I'm hitting the check mark, and now it looks like my image is very, very small. It cropped, it got rid of the stuff I didn't want, but I'm still only viewing it at 25%. So I'm going to take my magnifying lens, which is the tool or the zoom tool all the way at the bottom of the toolbar, and I'm going to click into it until I get up to 100% up here. And so now this is the actual size my image will be. Now this is the really cool thing about the crop tool. I didn't actually get rid of the rest of the pixels, so I could still I took my move tool, keep moving this around and see if there's a selection that I like better. Now it's not that interesting with this one because it's just a lot of lines, so let's move on to the next image. I'll go up to my tabs and see if I can find one. Yeah, I'll take this one, example of point. So again, to my crop tool, it still has the same settings that I had before, so I can leave that. And I'm going to change my crop a little bit. Now this is quite a different image if the point is up here. Look how it really activates the space because it kind of leads the eye, versus if my point is right in the middle. It makes for a little bit more of a passive design. Everything is in the middle. Or maybe if it's kind of down towards the bottom, it activates the space up here, or if it's the opposite, if it's a little bit more up here. So I'm just going to set it to about here, and I'm going to go up to the options bar and hit the check mark, commit to that, go to the zoom tool, zoom in until it says 100% here, and that's the size of my image. And now if I want to keep tweaking it, I can take the move tool and I could move that around. And what I'm looking for is to see, when is it kind of an interesting image. So that's very static, although it does definitely pierce the space. It's kind of static because it's smack in the middle. So what happens if it's down here? Is it more active? Or if it's up here, is it more active? I kind of like it up here. I like this I like how it draws the eye in here and the eye leads out to over here. Okay, so I'll just do one more. And I want to talk about how far you can crop it down. So I'm going like this, and I'm sort of saying you can move this down and you can change the size of this crop to whatever you want. But there actually is a point when you have to stop. And let's say I'm going to go down. Actually, I won't do it with this one. I'll do it with this image over here. And I'm going to make a very, very small selection. I'll just come right into this middle over here. Very small. So I've brought this down, and notice when you're using the crop tool how it's telling you what your width and your height are in inches. So I'm at like, I'm going to go all the way down to almost a half an inch. Make a tiny little selection. Whoa, I didn't mean to turn it. And commit to it. It does its thing, and I'll zoom in to 100%. And do you see how blurry the image is? So I asked Photoshop to do a little bit too much what you call resampling. That's when it throws away pixels and then it has to add the pixels back because I didn't have enough pixels. So how can you avoid this? Well, since I've asked you to make your image 200 pixels by 200 pixels, let's see what that is in inches. I'm going to create a new document. And I'm going to put in, I've already done this, so it's still here, 200 pixels by 200 pixels with a resolution of 72. That's what our target is. I'll hit create. And that creates this image here. That's just to show you the canvas size. I'm going to go up to image, image size, and I'm going to switch that to inches if it's not already. And 2.7 inches by 2.7 inches. So that's the size of something that is 200 pixels by 200 pixels with a resolution of 72 is the same as 2.7 by 2.7 inches. So what does that mean? When I'm doing this with my crop tool and I'm changing the size of it, don't let the width and the height that you get there go below 2.7. If I do, I now have to ask Photoshop to add in pixels, and that's when it starts to get blurry. So at this point, because this image had many more pixels than I needed, I can make it smaller, and I'm not losing any of the image resolution or image quality. Okay, and I'll just keep zooming that up till it goes to be at 100. Okay, so I'll let you go ahead and do that to all 8 of your images. You should have 4 examples of point and 4 examples of line. And then in the next video, we'll talk about how to put them all together.